Yeah, when I first read the script, I immediately knew I had to play Hope. She's such a fun character, and she's very dynamic and complex, more so than the average person might think upon reading the script. And I thought that it was the subtleties of the narrative were very well done, and so it kind of leaves you hanging in a way, not knowing exactly what's going on. It's not necessarily resolved and tied up in a pretty little bow at the end of it, which it's kind of how life is, and that's how I think that movies should be. I'm not really into those romantic comedies and formulas where you know that how everything's going to end anyway, so what's the point of even sticking around until the second or third act of the film? So I read the script, and when I did, I knew that I had to play Hope. I knew that I wanted to work with these people, and I was excited that I could do it in my hometown. So I play Hope Hodges, and I liked the character because she appears to be one way on the surface, but she has a lot going on, and I really wanted to kind of be able to show that through my portrayal of her, because she's lost her husband in the war, and she's living with her in-laws, who are now not even technically her in-laws anymore. She's a single mother at this point. She's young, you know. Back in the day, especially in rural Mississippi, the women really started young in terms of getting married and having children. So she's kind of lost her dreams, and she has these pipe dreams of being a singer and maybe one day moving off to New York. But she also has responsibilities at home, and she's lost the love of her life. And now she's just trying to pick up the pieces and get by day to day. And she kind of is able to live in a sort of fantasy through Willy when he comes to town. And so I just found that her character was a lot more dynamic than a lot of people may have thought in the beginning, because she is kind of just this bubbly, southern, you know, happy-go-lucky kind of girl. But if you really start delving a little bit deeper into who she is, it gets kind of interesting. I felt sorry for Jefferson in real life, not necessarily as Hope. I mean, that poor guy, it's like, it wasn't bad enough that he had polio as a kid and was walking with a limp, and, you know, he couldn't go off to war, which is all he really wanted to do, was serve his country. And then here I am just tramping all over his little heart, because I obviously I don't know, I'm just a mean person, I guess. But, I mean, I was confused. I was very confused. Hope was confused. And she didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. Sometimes it just happens that way. But, I mean, John Snead did such an amazing job with that character. And we called him the one-take wonder. I feel like, you know, yeah, we might get another take just for safety, but it's like the minute you turn the camera on him, he's like, boom, done. And maybe it's because he just really had a lot of resentment that he was wanting to get out, because I felt like that's what he had to continually do. And he played that part so well, and it was just kind of a sad role that he had to play, because I was definitely hurting his feelings left and right, and I wasn't being very sensitive, and he was so caring toward me and my children and my family, and I just didn't care. I wanted excitement more so, but I'm sure in the end I end up with Jefferson, and I become a governor's wife, and then who knows from there. I'm probably going to end up being miserable and drunk, or did they pop pills back then? I'm sure they did. Did they have Valium back then? She's going to end up doing something along those lines, definitely. Oh, and she'll never realize her fame as a singer on Broadway. Oh well, but she had some fun in 1946, didn't she? Well, I mean, just being inside the Davies Plantation, there's so much history just right there in front of you. It's a museum, literally. But what's funny is that it's very rare that an art director has to go in and make the time period actually newer. And so being in a place that dates back to like the, I think, 1840s or 50s or something, I don't know, I personally, I felt like there were these spirits and all of this all of these cool historically significant things going on just around me in those walls, and you kind of felt this presence there, and I mean it was beautiful and it was serene out there, and just being able to walk outside and just kind of hang out in this beautiful weather with this, all these flowers around you and a beautiful countryside, and you're just a few minutes outside of Memphis, and so it was a cool experience to be out there, and I definitely I think that being out there, like actually being in an older home in an older location, helps set the mood for the actors as well. I've always had this kind of fascination with the 1940s and 1950s. I love the style, I love the time period, I love the music, I love the films, and so I love the hair and the makeup. In the 40s, it was this glamorous type of Hollywood scenario in terms of hair and makeup and style, and even though it was set in a rural Mississippi town and glamour wasn't really of utmost priority for these people in this small town in Mississippi, there's still a hint of it, because even these women, especially after the 1940s, right after the war, they wanted to feel pretty, and they wanted to be they wanted to kind of forget about the terrible things that had just gone on. I mean, especially like losing their loved ones and things along those lines. And so I've done research on those time periods in the past, but then of course as soon as I got this role, I did a lot more research, and just I felt connected to it in a weird way. I'm not sure why. I've never lost a loved one in a war or anything, but I definitely felt that the time period is something that I don't know, it helped me get into character more, just knowing what was going on in that time period, and knowing the different things that were happening during that time. And I don't know, I think that the 40s is a time period that maybe we could kind of look back toward. I'd like to thank my dad and Mrs. Jefferson and my very first director ever, Brian Mott.